So I've been coming to Kenya probably now for more than 15 years, but I haven't been here since 2014 when we launched the Fund for Rural Prosperity. And I guess what impresses me the most is the kind of the nature of the change here. Even over the last 15 years, there's been a lot accomplished in terms of financial inclusion, but also obviously with the advent of mobile and mobile financial services, it's really changed the landscape. So I think everyone knows that Kenya has been at the forefront of financial inclusion, has the highest level of financial inclusion at 80% in Africa, and really continues to innovate and be quite sort of ahead of the game in terms of financial inclusion. So that's something that surprised me in many ways over the last 15 years. And compared to other countries that I've been to, whether in Africa or outside of Africa, it's really that advent of mobile and what's being done around mobile that's really changed the nature of the development landscape here in Kenya. So it's great to see it in many ways and to imagine what it might look like in the future. So several years ago, in thinking about our financial inclusion strategy, one area that we knew we had to do more in was around agriculture and smallholder farmers. So the idea for the Fund for Rural Prosperity was conceived in 2013 about how can we look at different approaches, especially around innovation, that would help financial services providers and others develop products and services that would really serve the needs of smallholder farmers. So it was with that in mind that we conceived of and developed the Fund for Rural Prosperity. The fund is one of our largest investments in agriculture. It goes across sub-Saharan Africa. We have a number of programs here in Kenya that are focused within the fund. But for the Mastercard Foundation, it really represents one of our most significant investments in understanding how we can do a better job of including smallholder farmers in financial services. So the Fund for Rural Prosperity is the only challenge fund that the foundation has taken on to manage together with KPMG. So for us, that represented a whole new process, a whole new way of working. We had at the time two windows, a scaling window and an innovation window. And what we learned over time, because we received so many applications that were far more in the innovation window than in the scaling window, that eventually we decided to discontinue the scaling window. So that was a big learning for us. So the second thing we learned is that things always take longer than you anticipate. So even though it has, in many ways aspects of an innovation approach and idea, from the moment that an application comes in to the time that it's reviewed, people look at the business case and go out and do diligence, it may look very different at the end. And so we may actually be able to take in fewer applications than we expected to. So that process took a much longer time. But now we're beyond the first almost 4 years of the fund. We have our portfolio of companies that are now working in the fund. And now we're moving into, okay, now we're implementing, we're taking learnings from the fund. Now we're moving into that time of really learning what works, what doesn't work so well when it comes to delivering financial services to smallholder farmers. That was a great partnership that we had with the International Finance Corporation. Like FRP, Fund for Rural Prosperity, it's a long partnership, so we've been working with the IFC for 7 years on how to extend financial services to either underserved or unserved populations in sub-Saharan Africa. In that program, we work with 14 financial services providers, so microfinance institutions, banks, mobile network operators, and payment service providers to really look at how can we achieve better and deeper financial inclusion for those populations. The program has been very successful. It's not only had tremendous outreach, we've served through that program 11.4 million people. It's also had impact. And we've seen that through some of the studies that we've done and commissioned to really understand how does access to financial services, especially digital, improve their lives. You see the level of financial inclusion in Kenya is high, at 80%. And I think it is having an impact on people's lives. But broadly across the continent, the number is closer to 43%. So there's still a long way to go across the continent to achieve higher levels of financial inclusion, number one. Number two, I think we don't want to look at financial inclusion as an endpoint. It's really meant to help facilitate, whether it's access to education, access to employment, access to markets. So financial inclusion is that way or means by which we can enable other parts of the economy to be more successful. But we have to be careful not to confuse financial inclusion with the end game. It's not the end game. It's just a way of helping us facilitate other parts of the economy that actually need to be working for people so that they lead better lives.